For 40 years, WrestleMania has been the biggest stage in the world of pro wrestling. It's that one night of the year where the whole world is watching, all eyes are on the WWE, and legends are made. But the one match where the spotlight shines the brightest? The WrestleMania main event. Over the last 4 decades, we've seen some iconic WrestleMania endings, matches that defined eras and cemented legacies. But we've also had some massive blunders and disasters that WWE would probably prefer not to talk about. And as we're on the road to WrestleMania 41, I decided to watch every WrestleMania main event of the last 10 years and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. To kick things off, we're going to turn the clock back all the way to 2015, where Roman Reigns main evented WrestleMania for the first time against the Beast Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. The story leading into the match was that Brock had been this unstoppable, unconquerable force of nature who was destroying every challenger, while Roman Reigns was pushed as the new face of the company who was going to put this monster down. Lesnar was high off 2 big victories, having conquered The Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania the year before and having squashed Super Cena at SummerSlam. Reigns, on the other hand, was being heavily pushed as the chosen one, with the negative reaction from the fans growing more and more intense with every passing week. On paper, it seemed like this main event was up for disaster. Like, there was no way it was going to match the excitement of the previous year, when the Yes Movement was in full effect with Daniel Bryan winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Plus, the build to this match was mid at best, with one too many awkward moments. But on the night of the show, Lesnar and Reigns actually locked in and put on a solid match. You had Lesnar dominating the action and cementing himself as the mayor of Suplex City, while Reigns got some moves in and held his own in his first Mania main event. But the actual magic happened around 15 minutes into the match, when both Lesnar and Reigns are down, and Mr. Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins' music hits. Rollins runs down the ramp, cashes in the briefcase, and steals the WWE Championship, in what would go down as one of the most iconic endings in Mania history, which Michael Cole appropriately labeled as the heist of the century. Never before in the history of WrestleMania had we seen someone successfully cash in the Money in the Bank in the main event. The win would cement Rollins as one of the biggest stars in the company for the next decade, and as for Lesnar and Reigns, well, we'll get to that in a bit. But all said and done, this is one of the most memorable WrestleMania endings of all time. The match was solid, the finish was iconic, definitely a solid 9 out of 10 in my book. Now, given the negative reaction to Roman Reigns main eventing last year's WrestleMania, you would think the next year WWE would definitely change course, right? Well, nope. WrestleMania 32, which was hyped as one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time, with acclaimed attendance of over 100,000, saw Roman Reigns challenge Triple H for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in the main event. Now, given WWE was facing an injury crisis at this time, with top stars like Seth Rollins, John Cena, and Randy Orton being out of the show due to injury, you would want to cut them some slack, but the build for the main event was subpar at best. They did their best to position Reigns as this underdog babyface hero and try and do a recreation of Bryan's epic win against the Authority at Mania 30, but all of it just fell flat. Vince did his best by muting the booing crowd and piping in cheers for Roman's entrance, but nobody wanted to see Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania in 2016. When it came to the actual match, it was a pretty textbook face versus heel contest, with Stephanie McMahon distracting the referee and the heels pulling out all the stops to get the win over the supposed good guy. Reigns once again got heavily booed throughout the match, with chants for Bayley, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Sami Zayn, and even the post-match celebration with Reigns holding up the title with fireworks going off was met with disdain. A far cry of the previous 2 years' ending moments, Mania 32 ending gets a 2 out of 10 from me. Now, given the debacle at Mania 32, you'd think WWE for sure won't have Reigns main event WrestleMania again the next year, right? The main event for Mania 33 saw Roman Reigns take on The Undertaker, with Reigns claiming that this was his yard now and Taker's time was up. Reigns had eliminated Taker from the Royal Rumble, leading to the dead man seeking revenge. The match in itself was pretty much a letdown, similar to Reigns' last 2 outings at WrestleMania. Sure, it had some solid moments, with Taker chokeslamming Reigns through the announce table, putting Reigns in the Hell's Gate, and Taker kicking out of multiple spears. But fans realized early on that this was going to be another Roman wins LOL situation, something they had been pretty tired of for the last 2 years. Reigns would get the win to a massively negative reaction, and as the show came to an end, Taker would share an emotional moment with his wife Michelle McCool and leave his gloves, coat, and hat in the ring, with fans crying due to a mix of nostalgia seeing their childhood hero riding into the sunset and also due to torture of the poor booking. But just because of the emotional ending and how significant this was back in 2017, the main event of Mania 33 gets a 6 out of 10. Now for sure, once is understandable, but after two almost disastrous main events featuring Roman Reigns, there is absolutely no shot they book Roman in the main event for the 4th straight year in a row, right? The build to the Mania 34 main event for Reigns vs. Lesnar was pretty similar to their Mania 31 main event, with WWE trying to position Reigns as the babyface hero who will save the fans from this evil part-timer champion, but the fans were simply not buying it. WWE did everything in its power, from suspending Reigns, declaring that if Lesnar loses, he will not re-sign with WWE, but at the end of the day, it seemed like a pointless situation. Fans were simply not interested in another Roman Reigns WrestleMania main event, much less a Reigns vs. Lesnar match in the main event. As for the match, Reigns and Lesnar tried everything, with Reigns even bleeding like crazy to get the sympathy of the fans, but the fans were simply not interested. There were chants of, "This is awful," there was a beach ball, and there were also CM Punk chants, with the fans showing clear disinterest in the match. Lesnar would eventually get the dub after a 6th F5 and throw the Universal title at Vince once he went backstage. A total disaster. Mania 34 main event gets a 3 out of 10 from me. History was made at WrestleMania 35 when we had the women main event WrestleMania for the first time ever. Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte Flair squared off for both the Raw and SmackDown women's titles in perhaps the biggest match in women's wrestling history. And let me tell you, the hype for Big Time Bex in 2019 was off the charts. You had this absolute unhinged specimen fighting the Authority, getting arrested, brawling with handcuffs on, and it was just a fun build with 3 of the biggest female athletes in the world. The actual match was decent, with all 3 stars getting their time to shine, with the controversial ending putting somewhat of a damper on what should have been a celebration. I mean, it would have been much better to just see Becky get a clean pin in the center of the ring, even if it was on Charlotte, but guess that's what happens when you have so many egos involved in one match. Nevertheless, the ending of the show will go down in history, with Becky Lynch holding both the Raw and SmackDown women's titles, cementing herself as one of the biggest stars in the WWE. The ending of Mania 35 gets a 7 out of 10. WrestleMania 36 was a special case because for the first time in history, WrestleMania was being filmed inside the WWE Performance Center. Plus, this was the first time the event was broadcast over 2 nights and on tape delay. Originally, Mania 36 was set to take place at the Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. But we all know what happened in 2020, and thus we got the only WrestleMania without a live crowd. The show in itself was quite unique. We got the Firefly Funhouse match, you had Edge wrestle in his first singles match in almost 10 years, and you had Charlotte Flair, for some reason, win the NXT Women's title? Yeah, wild times. The main event of the show was supposed to be Drew McIntyre's crowning moment in front of a stadium attendance after being released from the WWE, reinventing himself and coming back to prove everyone wrong. But instead, we had Drew have his moment in an empty performance center. The match itself was quick, with both Lesnar and Drew spamming finishers, but not having a live crowd to react really hurt the quality of the ending. But even with that, it was a low-key satisfying finish to a unique WrestleMania. Mania 36 ending gets a 7 out of 10 from my side. WrestleMania 37 saw fans return, even though in limited capacity. But even having around 20,000 fans in the arena was much better than an empty performance center. After being out of the main event scene for the last 2 years, Mania 37 saw the return of Roman Reigns in the WrestleMania main event, though this time in a different avatar. Gone was the big dog, and in was the tribal chief. The main event of Mania 37 saw Reigns defend the Universal title against Edge and Daniel Bryan in a triple threat match. Edge, who had won the Royal Rumble match in 2021, chose Reigns as his opponent for WrestleMania, but at the same time, Daniel Bryan had unfinished business with Reigns, having never gotten his fair shot at the title. As a result, Adam Pearce booked all 3 men in a triple threat for the title at the grandest stage of them all. The build going into the match was nothing super crazy, but the actual match itself was pretty nuts. You had Edge tweaking and showing colors of his 2006 self. You had this cool moment when both Bryan and Edge had Reigns in submissions. And of course, the ending where Reigns stacked both men and pinned both at the same time to become the fifth heel to win the main event of WrestleMania. Though the match involved the usual bloodline shenanigans, it was pretty great, especially compared to Reigns' other Mania main event performances till then. This one gets a solid 8 out of 10 in my book. WrestleMania 38 saw Reigns and Lesnar clash in the Mania main event for the third time after Mania 31 and 34. This time, it was billed as the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, with both the WWE Championship and the Universal Championship on the line. The build to this match was pretty intense compared to their other two Mania matches. Reigns and Lesnar were on a collision course throughout the summer of 2021 when Lesnar made his return after Reigns had just defeated Cena. Paul Heyman played a crucial role in the story, turning on Lesnar for the first time in years and solidifying his position as Roman Reigns' Wiseman. Though the rivalry could have ended much sooner at the Day 1 pay-per-view, but due to a weird twist of fate, Reigns was pulled out of the show, and Day 1 ended with Lesnar winning the WWE title. At the Royal Rumble, Reigns cost Lesnar the WWE title, but Lesnar would enter himself in the Royal Rumble match, and he would go on to win back the WWE Championship in the Elimination Chamber. Basically, half the roster was made to look like clowns, just so these two juggernauts could have their so-called biggest Mania match of all time. When it came to the actual match, though the fan reception was better than their previous two Mania encounters, the finish felt a bit anticlimactic and out of nowhere. Reigns got his defining moment at Mania, finally defeating Lesnar in a Mania main event to a mixed reaction from the crowd. Though the match wasn't an all-time classic by any means, it was still pretty solid, and this epic shot of Reigns to close off Mania gets this a 6.5 out of 10 in my book. Cody Rhodes won the 2023 Men's Royal Rumble match and earned the right to challenge Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal title in the main event of WrestleMania 39. And the build for this one was pretty hype. You had Cody and Heyman going off on each other on the mic. You had Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and the Usos getting involved in the mix. It was a multi-layered story, and it looked like Roman Reigns' run at the top was finally going to come to an end at WrestleMania 39. Both men got their epic entrances. The Usos had lost the tag titles the night before, making it seem like even more that Reigns was about to lose, and the crowd was totally invested into the match. The match itself had the usual bloodline shenanigans with lots of outside interferences, false finishes, and finisher spams. But in the end, just as Cody was about to hit Reigns with the third crossroads, Solo Sikoa pops up out of nowhere, thumbs Cody in the throat, and just like that, Roman retains to a mixed reaction from the crowd. While the ending of the match has been criticized for being repetitive and following the usual bloodline match formula, but for the actual match itself, both Reigns and Cody had the crowd in the palm of their hands. The crowd was truly invested and they actually cared about the outcome. There were no beach balls. This was a legit Mania main event with high stakes and drama, which gets it a 7.5 from my side. But just because Cody lost at Mania 39 didn't mean this story was over. Before we get into that though, as you may have already noticed, we haven't talked about the Mania Night 1 main events in this video because for me, the main event will always be the match that closes the whole show. But with that said, we've had some epic Mania Night 1 main events that deserve a special mention, like the Boneyard match between Taker and AJ Styles, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair's historic match at Mania 37, Austin's special appearance at Mania 38, and the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens tearing the house down in the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania 39. But if Mania 39 was Infinity War, Mania 40 was the endgame. Cody Rhodes won the Royal Rumble for the second consecutive year and earned the right to face Roman Reigns once again in the main event of WrestleMania 40 and finish his story. Only this time, the stakes were much higher and the build was taken to insane heights. You had Final Boss Rock pull up to the party. You had Seth Rollins siding with Cody Rhodes to take down the Bloodline. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were in the mix, and it was like the Avengers coming together to fight Thanos. The entire world had their eyes on this match. Roman Reigns' historic title reign versus Cody Rhodes fighting for the legacy of his family, his father, fighting to finish the story, and this truly felt like a proper blockbuster WrestleMania main event. As for the match itself, how do I describe it? What's the term the kids use?
Cinema!
You had Reigns and Rhodes with their epic entrances that topped their entrances from the previous year. You had all the outside interferences and shenanigans you would expect from a Roman Reigns bloodline match, But the last 5 minutes of this match is what really took it to a whole another level. You had John Cena come out and put Solo Sikoa through the announce table. Then you had final boss Rock pull up and murk Cena. Seth Rollins hobbled to the ring in his Shield outfit only to get clapped by Reigns. The Undertaker showed up out of nowhere and chokeslammed The Rock. And finally, after all the chaos, after all the drama, when the smoke settled, Cody Rhodes hit Roman Reigns with not one, not two, but 3 crossroads to pin him in the middle of the ring and become the new face of the WWE. You had everyone hoisting Cody up, Triple H himself came out, and this truly felt like the endgame of pro wrestling. Cody finished his story, Roman Reigns' historic reign was over, and this had all the makings of an all-time classic WrestleMania main event. This one gets a perfect 10 out of 10 from my side. And that's what WrestleMania is for us fans at its core essence. Even if you haven't watched in years, even if you haven't been following regularly, it's that time of the year where all fans come together to celebrate this art and sport we loved growing up. So let me know in the comments, which is your favorite WrestleMania main event? And do you think this year's WrestleMania main event will live up to the spectacle of last year? Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.